So hello everyone, the latest episode of the Talking Balls podcast, the snooker podcast, comes out every week on a Wednesday. And I'm your host, Michael Wright, writer 74, and I'm let Lee introduce himself.
Yeah, hi everyone, good to be here. Thanks for joining us. I think it's fair to say we've got a Scottish Q Sports legend with us today. We're really looking forward to it.
So a big welcome, Talking Balls, welcome to Billy Snaddon. Good to see you, Billy.
Thanks very much. Good to be here and let you know a few stories about my career.
Excellent. We can't wait to tuck in and see where this goes, really. But yeah, I mean, anybody who kind of, going back into the 90s who's been following snooker and been watching will know about you, Billy. And obviously, if you look on the internet, there's a Wikipedia page. It talks about you starting your career and a possible football career before that. Now, I never know whether it's true what I read on the internet sometimes. So I'm going to let you maybe just tell us a little bit, Billy, about, how you got into snooker and just a bit of background around that, if you would.
Yeah, of course. Well, my dad used to work in a brewery a long time ago, and they had a social club in Alloa. So he used to take me down there, and they had a snooker table. So I started playing on that when I was probably about 13, 14, to be honest. And after that, I think we just, there wasn't many places you could actually play snooker. It wasn't that popular at the time. But then a couple of clubs opened up, and then I started playing in the Alloa Snooker Club. There was a couple of places actually at Alloa Snooker Club, and the Venture Inn, which was only one full-size table, so kind of played between both of those. And then just obviously snooker, that was the boom time really. Loads of amateur events, and just started entering them and started playing snooker, obviously, as an amateur. So,
when did you sort of realise, Billy, that you were really good at the game and you could maybe make a career out of it?
I think, to be honest, Lee, I was at one point, I think I got up to number 2 in the rankings as an amateur in Scotland, which was obviously no mean feat. I mean, there was so many good players at that time from all over Scotland, and I'd started to get into a few finals. I lost in the Benson and Hedges to Drew Henry, who was he was a fantastic snooker player as well. And just that, and then getting selected to play for Scotland at amateur level with the talent obviously Scotland had at that point: McManus, Higgins, Burnett, myself, Chris Small, Ewan Henderson, Drew Henry, Jimmy Allen. It was just, the team was Graham Horn. The team was frightening that we had at that.
Mark incredible standard back then, Billy.
Oh, it was just, I mean, to win a Pro-Am, to be honest, was a great achievement, because there was that many quality players. And Parkey, Dumfries, you know him well, and Paul Jameson, and they were all really good players. To win an event, you had to beat some real quality players.
And of course, you played at Spencer Snooker Club in Stirling, and obviously you practiced there as a professional. And I always remember we had events there in the Scottish amateur scene, and we had you, Hendry, on another table practicing away, and I was between games, and I was sitting down for lunch, and you came over, and you said to me, "Oh, I'll just have a wee sit in a blether with you, Lee." And I thought, how does he know who I am? And you bought me a can of juice and stuff, and we had a wee blether. And I thought, what a lovely guy. And I think throughout the snooker and pool world, I think that's the consensus with you, Billy. Just a really good guy.
I mean, I used to take obviously when I played in Spencer's, it was brilliant. There was that many good players in there as well. Elaine Robidoux came over, and then you had obviously all the stable guys for Q Masters used to come up periodically, and Chris Small would come through, Drew Henry would come through, John Higgins would come through. But I used to take the juniors actually on a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Friday. So I'm probably a people person, to be honest. I always been brought up probably from my mum and dad in the correct manner, and I always tried to be nice to people. And when I seen obviously the youngsters coming in the club, because we used to have a lot of junior events and tournaments at the weekend, I would always make an effort with the youngsters to try, because they were interested in watching. Obviously more Henry than myself, but they were still interested in yourself. So I think that's where it came from. I just made an effort with everybody.
Yeah, and of course it's a nice touch. You know, it's something that you don't have to do, but you chose to maybe give a little bit back, and you know that goes a long way, especially for the juniors, as you say.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you had guys like Mark Boyle and who ended up turning pro, and a lot of the like Scott McKenzie, Grant McNairn. There was so many youngsters at that time coming through, and I think obviously because of what we had done as amateurs, it kind of gave everybody a. I mean, Mark Boyle was just he was the tiniest, skinniest wee boy I've ever seen in my life. I knew he's obviously one of the best pool players in the world as well, and was a good snooker player. It just everything didn't work out from him snooker wise, but I tell you what, he's an unbelievable player now.
I think the fact, Lee, that you're talking about that impression that Billy made on you at that point, which is what over 30 years ago, I'm guessing.
Yeah, early 2000s.
Michael.
Well, the point I'm making, the point I'm making is that's made that kind of impression that Lee's still kind of, thinks of you fondly in that way. It just shows, doesn't it, that, being kind to people on the way up, and it really does leaves a big mark. And I guess for you, Lee, it was probably good from an encouragement point of view that somebody's come over and taken the time for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I just didn't think that anybody like Billy would know my name, and obviously, he didn't have to do that, and it's just good encouragement. You know what I mean? So people are taking an interest in you, and especially somebody Billy's stature in the game.
And where is it? I'm asking both of you in a way, really, but where, in terms of the Scottish scene, is it now compared to in those days that you're just talking about there? I mean, you've talked about players who have reached the very top of the game now, really, from that crop. Where do you feel the scene is now in Scotland on the snooker front?
Is this to me?
To both, really, yeah. I mean, obviously, Lee, you're quite active as well, aren't you? And still going into tournaments in the seniors as well. Yeah. But I'm just wondering how you've seen the scene overall in Scotland change over these years.
I personally think because when we turned pro, obviously the amateur game across the world was really strong. England had phenomenal amateurs as well. Some guys that were really, really good snooker players as amateurs. I can remember a guy called Lee Grant from England who was probably one of the best amateurs in the world, turned pro, and he could hardly win a match. So it kind of tells you how tough it was. But in Scotland, I just feel like it's declined since we turned pro, and I think it's because there's not a strong amateur game. I feel so. I mean, like Lee knows, he's played the game for years now, and he represents Scotland at amateur level, and it's so sad that guys have to pay for their, pay their way or pay for their suits to go and represent Scotland and stuff like that. Whereas when we played, we used to get taken to Slaters in Glasgow. We got suits, and we got treated brilliantly, even though we probably had to pay our own way to go to events down south. When we went away for internationals, we never paid it out of our own pocket, really. So I really feel sorry, and I think because it's that cutthroat now, there's for amateur to professional. I just think there's not enough youngsters playing it anymore, and I think it's a sad reflection on snooker, not just in Scotland, but I think everywhere, to be honest. Yeah,
I can't agree with you enough there, Billy. As someone who goes abroad to play in events, you think if you're playing, representing your country, that you maybe get a wee handout here or there just to ease the financial burden. But, it doesn't happen. But it's such an honour to get to play for your country that you sort of don't think about the money. You just want to be there and playing.
Yeah.
But obviously, obviously that's holding a lot of maybe the young kids going to events abroad and stuff because maybe their parents just can't afford it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I knew you were in Killarney a few weeks ago at the Glen Eagles Hotel, and I played there in the 2016 World Pool Championships, and I loved it, but it's so expensive. We went there, and Jesus, it was. I just couldn't believe how dear it was compared to Scotland, which you think would be crazy. You're only travelling 30, 40 minutes in a plane or whatever, but my God, what an expensive place. So it doesn't matter what you do now. If you're playing snooker for Scotland, you're paying out your own pocket, aren't you? Where it never used to
Yeah.
be as bad as that, to be honest. So I feel for everybody it's like you said though, I think to play pool or snooker or any cue sport for your country or any sport is a massive honour. So guys make it hard to go.
Absolutely. Well, we might as well, talk about Killarney now, Billy. Obviously, you spoke about 2016. You were playing pool in Killarney, and you came away that week with 2 world titles: the world team title and the senior world title. What was that week like?
It was a special week, to be honest. It's a kind of every time I've played for Scotland for probably the last 15 years at pool, and I don't know if it's just my Donald Duck, but it's every time I go, it's been in Bridlington, which is a lovely place. But some of the boys have been to Cyprus, they've been to Malta or wherever they've been, and obviously Killarney was the first kind of overseas, but obviously travelling to a different country to go and play rather than just driving in the car to England. It was fantastic. I mean, the Scottish seniors team that I play for is just, it's frightening. I mean, the quality of players we've got. I mean, Jamie Burnett played with us a few years ago. They were just amazing. To be honest, when I go away to play for Scotland, I'm a team man now. I go there to win the team event, which we've done the last 5 or 6 events. You play in the singles. If it goes your way, well, you take it. And I was lucky enough to win it, and I had a pretty tough draw. I beat a couple of South African guys, a good Welsh player, one of the top English players, and I played Paul Coldrick, who's English but lives in France, and he's played with the men's France A team for years. So he came back to the seniors, and then he's away back to play in the men's team again. So it shows you the quality of him. And I won 6-4 in the final, and it was amazing because to be honest, I wasn't well when I played that final. I was in my bed the night before and didn't feel great. But to win both of them on the same day was absolutely fantastic, to be honest.
Incredible. And in the team event, I think you beat England. Was that right, in the team event?
We did, and they're a special team as well. They've got Jules Goodyear, who was a real good snooker player as well, and I'll tell you, it's always tough playing them. I mean, they're a really, really good team, and I don't know what it is. It's like we always seem to absolutely fly when we play them, especially in the finals. I mean, I think we've played them in 4 or 5 finals, and they've not really touched us, and they are really, really good. So it kind of says a lot about the bond that we've got in our team, that we can keep winning these events.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you find, Billy, that the guys that are at the top of the pool rankings, they've all sort of dabbled in snooker? They're sort of snooker players going into pool.
I think there's a few, to be honest. I think our team, Scott Dunbar plays in the same team. Scott. Scott was a real good snooker player. A few other boys have played snooker. Jimmy Pollock for Dundee, you'll know wee Jimmy. Jimmy played amateur in Scotland for years at the snooker. Was a real good player. Played around about the Maguire era when he was coming through. And there's Stephen Benny, Mark Boyle, Scott Gillespie. They're all guys that were real good snooker players. Scott Ross Fernie is another one who started to win a lot of big pool events. He was a good snooker player. So there's a lot of, I think, as we say, the amateur game in Scotland snooker wise kind of, as you know, died down a bit. I think guys went to play pool because they seen something different. And I mean, I know it's not in the same class of game as in, I mean, everybody would think we'd rather play snooker, but I would rather play pool now than play snooker, which is, I know it's pretty sad to hear, but I think the old eyes are going. So I'll just stick to the wee table. But as much as I love playing snooker,
so do you still play a bit of snooker, Billy, or is it QOA? I know you've been to Bathgate Snooker Centre, which is a great centre for snooker. Aaron Graham and the Graham family do a great job there, don't they? But I think it was with Scott Dunbar you were there a few times. Yeah,
we started playing about, I think it was about 2 years ago, just before I took Noel again. I probably played for about 5, I don't know, it was maybe about 3-4 months. Me and Scott were going every Saturday, and we both were really, I think he was trying to get me back to playing maybe seniors with Scotland or whatever, or I think that's the road he was going down. But I've still got, it's hard to play pool and snooker. very difficult, but I totally agree with you. That club in Bathgate is just, that is the, I mean, they're a tremendous family.
Yeah,
They do brilliant for snooker, and the club is just, it's out of this world. It really are. The tables are amazing, but they're tight.
yeah, they're terrible.
Oh my
Beautiful
God!
tables.
I said to Arm, I was like, I said, I tell you what, I said, there's no pro. A pro couldn't hit an 80 on these tables, and he was like, Aidan Sharaf was hitting tons for fun. I said, well, it must have been on the lineup because it wasn't an open play. That's for sure. But what a place to play snooker.
Beautiful, isn't it?
I probably will go back and have a game, but I'm obviously still recovering, so I'll definitely go back for a hit sometime soon because I'm getting stronger and stronger.
Ah, fantastic, Billy.
So, I mean, the bit, I guess, for snooker fans as well is your career, your time in the tour, really, in the rankings, and obviously got into major finals. You've been in quarterfinals. You've done it in the Irish Open, and the one you're probably most famous for, I guess, is the one where you went all the way and kind of lost out to John Higgins in the end. But what are your memories of that tournament, the China one?
It was a crazy couple of weeks, Michael. To be honest, I think I got beaten the quarters in Thailand the week before it. It was a kind of double dunter tournament. You were at Thailand one week and then China the next. So I was in Thailand for about a week and a half. I had a couple of good results. I think I beat Stephen Lee. Or did he beat me in the quarters? I can't mind. It was that long ago. But then obviously going to China, I had a tough first game on James Wattana. And I was lucky enough to beat, I think it was 5-3 I beat him first game, and then I played, I think it was Ronnie, and I played really, really good. 4-1 up, he got back to 4-3, and I thought, oh, here we go, you know what he's like, he can reel off frames in minutes, but then I knocked in a good break the last frame to win 5-3.
Yeah, you had 450s and a ton included in that, Billy.
I played really well.
Excellent,
To be fair, I mean, he was very honest in his assessment of the game after it, and really said kind things about me. So, but Ronnie was always like that with me, to be honest. So, I took my hat off to him for saying that. He didn't have to say the things he said, but it was really nice to hear for somebody that you had a lot of time and admired. So after that, I think I played Stephen Lee in the quarters. Or it might have been Stephen Lee then Ronnie, I can't mind. But I beat Stephen Lee.
It was Ronnie then Stephen Lee.
Right. So my memory's a wee bit better than I think.
Yeah.
I beat him. I think I beat him. I can't mind much about that game, to be honest. I won 5-2, 5-3 maybe.
5-3, yeah.
5-3, and then I had Hendry in the semis. So obviously I'd probably had a right few doings off him through the years on practice tables at Spencer's, and but it was something I was looking forward to because I'd never played him in a tournament before. So the kind of venue that we were at in Shanghai, you had to go down on a lift to the tables. So it was me, Hendry, and the referee, and he never spoke a word. I mean, this is a guy I used to spend every day with, and he never spoke a word to me, which I think, to be honest, actually helped me kind of motivate myself, a wee bit more concentration. And I went out, and I never really missed a ball. I remember being 5-2 up and thinking, it's the worst thought ever, I've beat him. And he was needing a snooker on the pink, and he hit me in an unbelievable snooker. And I thought to myself, I can panic stations in the head. If I don't hit this pink and blah, 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 he wins the frame, and then all of a sudden you're under pressure. And I actually butchered the shot, hit it miles too far away from the pink, and I caught the knuckles of the top pocket, and it rolled down the rail and touched it, and I thought I'm in the final, because things like that didn't happen to you unless you need a bit of luck.
Yeah, it's like fate, isn't it?
Definitely. And I think that was the first time 4 Scots had ever been in the semis of a ranking event. It was myself and Hendry and Higgins and McManus were in the other semi. So I 6-2 I won, and then obviously we John in the final. I think I just ran out of steam, to be honest. I think
it was close early doors, Billy, in that final.
I think it was 3 each, or he went 4-3, or maybe 4-2, 4-3, and then he just ran away. He was just. I mean, I think it's the only time he's ever won a tournament in Asia, or it was to that point. He always seemed to struggle over there for some reason, but I was the first 4 frames it was incredible snooker. I think I was 2-0 down. He was needing a snooker the first frame, I think, dished up to beat me in the black, and then he won the next frame, and I knocked in 90-60 or something like that to go 2 each, and I thought to myself, I'm kind of back in it. And I remember Anthony Hamilton, who's a really good friend of mine, telling me at one point, I think this was before this tournament, I got beaten in the quarters in Thailand for Ken Doherty, and he said to me, "You're going to win a ranking event soon." And I thought to myself, that's something for a fellow pro to say you, because that gave you a bit of belief and confidence in yourself as well. And I'll tell you one thing, I think with the way snooker is now, with 30 odd tournaments or whatever they have compared to our 6, there's no doubt in my mind if I was playing now, I'd certainly win a ranking event. Yeah,
without a doubt. And obviously playing in more, you're going to be match sharp, and you can only progress, can't you, with as many tournaments?
Yeah, well, I think it's fantastic now for guys, and I can see it both sides. I think the young guys coming into the game are kind of struggling because they're playing against a real big hitter all the time, and that's a difficult thing, because the young guys that are coming in my opinion, they're still amateurs. They're calling themselves professional. I didn't mean to be harsh, but I think they're still learning. It's still a learning thing for them. But they come up against a Higgins or an O'Sullivan or a Williams or a Selby, Robertson. It's so hard to beat the guys. And, at that stage, whereas with us, again, it was still difficult because we were playing them, maybe they were all seeded into the last 32 event, which was a massive advantage for them. But you were kind of sharp going in to play them, where these guys are not even getting a chance to be sharp going in and playing an event,
Yeah.
So and that's why so many, maybe I see quite a lot of the foreign guys who have shown a lot of maybe they've shown belief in themselves are now, they're wrapping the game because they can't afford to stay on the tour, and I think that's really sad.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoke to a lot of people about sort of the distribution of prize money, and obviously, if you lose your first game, you're not getting any prize money.
That's not right. Yeah.
Brutal, isn't it?
It's just if you're calling I mean, how can they say you're on a tour of 1 to 8 players, and then if you lose one game, the first game, you didn't get any money? Just take the money off somebody else. Just cut the money down a wee bit and give them, even if you're giving them their expenses, £500 or £1,000 or whatever. At least it's, imagine going to a tournament and getting beat and no earning a penny, and you're paying your expense. That's not right, in my opinion.
There's too much pressure.
Far too much, especially when you're coming for. I mean, it's hard. I mean, you see some of the Scottish guys, they're going down, and I mean, you're still paying to get down there. You're paying for a night's hotel and food and whatever, and to not get far too much pressure on their boys.
Yeah,
really. You need to give them a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about that, haven't we, Lee, a number of times, and I think Peter Devlin sticks in my mind about, particularly around the money. He talked a lot about the money and also, as you say, the pressure on them early rounds. I think he was saying, when we talked to him, it was the UK Championship coming up, and he knew he had to do well in that, or else his season was almost over already, wasn't it? I think that's the way he was talking. Because he wasn't going to make up the ground if he didn't make progress in that, and you just and you're labelling there almost, Billy, of whether these guys and the lower rankings on the tour, whether they're actually professionals or not. Again, this is something we've talked about a lot. Should there almost be professionals and then semi-professionals and then amateur? Because it does seem that you go from tour player to amateur. And there doesn't seem to be any middle ground for that kind of almost a pro or was a pro, but it's still on the scene. There's this whole kind of term that covers absolutely everybody who's not on the tour. It just seems a little bizarre.
I just think like I was saying to Lee and yourself, because there's that many tournaments now, but these guys are not getting a chance to show. I mean, they're probably good young players, but they're not. You're not going to survive playing against a top player in that environment. They have to give them a chance, and I think, as we alluded to before, you need a strong amateur. It's like any walk of life, any job you do, you serve your apprenticeship, and then you go into play, at any job or any sport. And for me, the amateur game is not strong enough to. You seen that young guy last week that won the shootout for Iran. I mean, he won the World Amateur, I don't know how many years, 2014 or whatever. Now, he's probably, I know he's had a lot of problems getting through with his visas and stuff like that, and I mean, obviously it's not an easy country to come from to play like sports, but he's done absolutely amazing to keep actually playing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, rather than it'd been easy for him to say, "Well, I'm going to chuck it." But I mean, I've never met the young guy, but I tell you what, I take my hat off to him for sticking at it and doing what he's done.
Yeah, and there's a few stories like that, isn't there, of people almost giving up their life at home to come over in this country, or to to Britain, the UK, and to play here to make a life for themselves. And as Lee says, it's so hard if you're trying to. You almost have to be in the top 30 or so to make a proper good living out of it, by the looks of things. What was it like when you were on? So if you go back to that, there's a couple of things I want to ask you about that China tournament and around that time in snooker. So, obviously the game is blooming in China. I mean, it's such a hot spot now, isn't it? I mean, what was it like when you went there in terms of fans or, the build up around it? Did you feel that as much there?
It was, we never got the red, I think they get the red carpet treatment now and stuff like that, which must be, they must be like nipping themselves to, walking along a red carpet to go to a snooker tournament. I mean, it sounds bizarre, but that's what happens. When we went, I mean, they were very passionate about snooker. I mean, you couldn't walk out in the street and they were running after you, wanting you to sign autographs. I mean, it was kind of coming from Scotland, where you obviously, I don't know, I think if we won a ranking event, people would still walk past us in the street. You know what I mean? People in China were like, they were crazy. They just loved snooker, and they supported it so well. I mean, at that time there was, I'm trying to think about that. There was a guy called Jin Long that came and played in the UK. I think he was one of the first ones. I can't mind the wee guy that got to Sheffield. I think he was the youngest to get there. Can't mind his name. But he plays that Chinese 8-ball now, and so does that Jin Long. And they were kind of the first couple of players that came. But again, they guys end up going back and playing Chinese 8-ball because they can't survive playing snooker, because there was that. I mean, that guy got to the World Championships last 32 at Sheffield, and he was only 17, so he must be some player to achieve that. But he's ended up packing in 2 or 3 years later because he can't survive over here with the money the guys get paid. So, but China was amazing. I mean, I was lucky enough to play there twice, Shanghai, and then when they got beaten in the final, and we also went to Shenzhen on a golf resort. Now, I've never seen anything like this in my life. There was a floodlit golf course. It was a 5-star golf resort, and I shared the room with wee Graham Dott, and he said to me, "There's a bird out there with pointy ears." I said, "Graham, that's a bat. That's not a bird." It was the scariest place I've ever been in my life, honestly. They were nuts.
And you done pretty well in Asia, Billy, with the snooker. In '94, you won a non-ranking event, didn't you? Was it the King's Cup? Yeah,
I won the King's Cup. There was a lot of good players in that, and I was obviously, I beat Wattana 6-1 in I think it was the semis. I think it was all Thai players I played, to be honest. I beat Sariya Suwana Singh for 4-1 doing first game, so I was lucky. And then I beat former world amateur champion Nopadon Nopachorn in the final 8-4. So it was that was a big confidence booster for me back then, to be honest.
And that was televised, wasn't it? And I think you played in front of the King of Thailand.
Aye, it was the King's Cup, so there was government officials and everything there, and it was crazy. I got after the final in the venue. I mean, Bangkok's the craziest place I've ever been in my life. I mean, it's just absolutely nuts. Is the traffic, and they put me in this limousine and took me back to the hotel, and police were stopping cars, and they must have been thinking, who's in this car? And probably arguing, and they're like, who's this? It was something that I'd never ever thought I'd experience in my life, to be honest. It was, but again, it's another country that support their sportsmen, and I wish Scotland was like that. As you know, Lee, if we had I think if you try to get grants for our government to help you play snooker, it's like the Krypton factor. It's just, whereas all these other countries, I mean, the guy I mentioned I beat in the final, when that guy won the when that guy won the World Amateur, they bought him a Merc, and they bought a condominium and put him and his family in this lovely place. And you're like, imagine if you got that in Scotland for being successful. I mean, you just couldn't think of that.
I mean, it's true what you say, Billy. Like with funding for the snooker, I think Scottish Snooker have been trying to get funding for the players and stuff from Sport Scotland. And you think it would be a shoe-in. You think it would be so easy. And you wouldn't need that much money, really, to get things off the ground, you know?
It's a sad reflection on our sporting side of the government, that I just think there's no help. I mean, how easy would it be to help, like, the teams? I mean, even at the pool, we go away and play for Scotland at pool. We play in the World Championships, and you've got countries coming from Australia and South Africa and wherever else they've came from. We play China and everything. And the South Africans get track suits, like stacks. They get all their expenses paid. France is the same, and you're just saying to yourself, well, we're probably the most successful, one of the most successful pool nations in the world, and snooker, and you know, you mostly pay everything yourself. Even though the Scottish Pool Association try the hardest and they're great to us, but my God, it's like these other countries. It's like they cherish their sports people, you know. And Scotland, unfortunately, through the government, there's very little help.
Yeah, it's a sad indictment, really, isn't it? When you see how it could be, and then you think, well, why isn't it that way here? Then I guess you feel like you have to make it on your own, really, if you're going to get anywhere. It's all on your own steam. Are there any of the Scottish guys, Lee, that you're looking at the moment that you're thinking, could make a real dent in terms of getting further up in the tour?
Me, Michael.
Yeah, well, or Billy. Yeah. I don't know, Billy. Are you kind of watching snooker now, or have you moved away from kind of keeping up to date with it?
No, I mean, I still keep up to date. I mean, I'm still pally with obviously a lot of the Scottish boys that used to play, and Chris Small had mentioned to me, because I met him in Bathgate Snooker Centre about a year and a bit ago, and he mentioned the young lad Dean Young, who obviously done well in the shootout last week. I mean, again, he looks a really good young talent, but he's playing all the top players again. I mean, he's been unlucky. He's lost to Stuart Bingham 6-5 in the UK. Stuart, as we all know, Stuart Bingham's one of the top players in the world. So the young boy Dean Young must be a good player to take Stuart to 6-5. But if you're not getting the chance to play against guys at your own level in some games, to allow yourself to get that bit of confidence to move up to play guys like Stuart Bingham, how are you supposed to move forward? I think the whole system's got to change to allow these guys a chance. I really do.
Yeah, you know, sort of from my point of view, young Liam Graham, you know, he's a really good up and coming player. You got like Sam Mackay, Stephen Wardroper, those young guys. Yeah, they're probably got the most chance of progressing, you know, maybe onto the pro ranks. But as Billy says, it's going to be tough for them without any funding and stuff. But those are the names.
Yeah. So a lot to watch out for. But like you say, they need a chance once they get on the tour to at least play with the similar level and then get there on merit when they play the big guys, rather than, I think Joe Perry, I was trying to remember who it was. I think it was Joe Perry in one of our early episodes who said something along those lines. He said, you know, it used to be an aspiration to play against the top players. So that would be a dream, and you'd build up and you'd improve your game and you'd practice like hell. He said, but now you get on the tour, you get a 2-year card and you can play you can play the number one in the world, greatest of all time, in one of your first matches. You know, where do you go from there?
I just think it's so hard now. I mean, as I say, there's that many guys like packing the game in. We've not been able to have a chance. And again, as Lee said, I've not earning any money playing in a professional snooker match. I just find that hard to believe. And I think what you were alluding to Scottish players, I can mind seeing the very first time 3 guys I've seen in Scotland since obviously the boom time when we all played. And Anthony McGill, Stephen Maguire, and Scott Donaldson. The very first time I seen the 3 guys playing snooker, you just knew they were going to be quality players. they had something that I think you can see when you watch somebody. I think you can tell, and I think years ago when Scotland was kind of dominating snooker, with Higgins, Hendry, McManus, and whoever else was up in the top 32, Scotland should have had a snooker academy. See, at that point, see if we had done the right thing, like whoever had like money, like if it was Ian Doyle, maybe whatever with Spencer's, or we used to have guys coming over from Qatar that used to spend a week practicing in Spencer's, and I used to coach some of them, and they were so keen. And I think Scotland as a country, like for snooker players, at that time, if we could have had an academy, Scotland would still have had a plethora of fantastic snooker players coming through. The conveyor belt would have been unbelievable, but you know, and we tried to. Some of us mentioned it, and we kind of got shot down in flames, and it's so sad. It really is, because there's academies popping up everywhere now.
Yeah, you think that would be the natural thing to do?
Definitely.
No. Sort of going back to the days in Stirling, Spencer's club, what was it like practicing with Stephen Hendry?
Oh, it was unbelievable. I mean, everybody that went in there obviously was dedicated because of Lee Doyle with myself originally, and then Ian Doyle. I know he was a tough man, but I tell you what, he got the best out of his players. You practiced hard. And, he kind of told you that you only get out of someone what you put in it. So it was a great learning curve. At the end of the day, if the best player in the world at that time was playing 10 till 5 every day, I mean, you had to yourself either play more than that or certainly as much as that, because you felt like you weren't, you know.
Yeah.
When you're watching him like doing the lineup and whatever he was doing for 3 or 4 hours, but he was that time he was just on another level. I mean, I remember playing him one day and he knocked in 11 centuries against me. It was frightening snooker. It didn't matter where you left him; he would just dish up. It's a soul destroying thing, but it's a tremendous learning curve for yourself, because if you want to do well, they're the levels that you've got to reach, you know. So it wasn't just him, to be honest. There was, at that point, we had Joe Johnson, Dennis Taylor, Robidoux, Thorburn, Doherty, Williams, Higgins. I mean, the class of player that was coming out of Spencer's at that time through Ian Doyle, either signing them as players or guys just coming up because they were pally with Hendry to have a hit, was just, I mean, there was some days you were going in there would be like 12 players in the top 32 all practicing. I mean, it was brilliant. I mean, it was just,
and I mean, this is
you played, you were getting a tough game.
Yeah, this is just a snooker club.
Correct.
It sounds like a fantasy snooker league, doesn't it?
And I mean, Robidoux stayed in Scotland for over a year, and I became like really close with him. He was not just a great player, what an absolutely great guy he was. And to be honest, there was 99% of the guys that play snooker professionally are. I mean, you mentioned one. Joe Perry was what a gentleman he was. I got on great with him as well, and Anthony Hamilton's I've mentioned. They were just Mark King. There were so many like really, really nice guys that play snooker.
Yeah. Well, we're finding that on here, I think, Lee, aren't we? I mean, everybody we've had on. I mean, it might be self-selecting in that they've given up time to do this, which already says they're probably quality anyway. But absolutely brilliant, and just seem glad that somebody's interested in them in a way, don't they? It's just really good to, and we've had. I mean, well, the standout one in terms of just the profile would be Neil Robertson, but again, just a down-to-earth bloke. Told you about how he's left his family from Australia, fell off the tour, got back on the tour, and it just was a tale of a lad who's worked hard and done well for himself. There was no grandeur or anything, was there, really, Lee?
Yeah, he was great. He spoke really sort of openly and honestly, and you know, he gave us so much of his time. And yeah, he did really come across as a great guy. But I think that's because snooker's a sort of working class game, isn't it, Billy? And you know, you go down the social club, and even if you're in the snooker clubs, you know, you're mixing with older people. So you know, it's a different sort of class down the snooker clubs and that.
Yeah, I can actually remember when he first came over. Watched him in the qualifiers, and he was a demon. Obviously, I think people keep talking about some of that he's very close top 3 or 4 for me. He's cue action is. I just think when he's on it, I remember watching him. I think it was Andrew Higginson. He played in the UK about 10 years ago, and he was 8-0 up, and it's probably the best 8 frames of snooker I've ever seen. He was just frightening. And again, as you say, he's a lovely guy, and it says a lot. I'm sure he fell off the tour.
Yeah.
Years ago and came back, and that shows a bit of character as well to anybody, an overseas player that does that. And obviously, look at him now. He's definitely, for me, one of the top 2 or 3 players in the world, easily.
Can you claim him as a Scot? I mean, Robertson's quite a Scottish name, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I remember the first time I seen Rory McLeod's name. He was under Scotland, and I'm like,
yeah.
I couldn't. I'm saying to myself, that's a strange one. But when you've got a name like Rory McLeod, I think you've got to have Scottish ancestry somewhere. Eh?